Hey everyone, welcome to our next episode of Spirit Sessions, where I interview makers, creators, and designers about their characters and mascots. Today we have a conversation with design studio Fred&Co, an award-winning studio run by the creative director Molly. We discuss their design history and in and outs of the design business, as well as their Dieline award-winning brand Snoozy, which features some excellent characters that we want to focus in on today. Let's get to it.
Okay, well, Molly, nice to see you. I know a little bit about you, but would love to hear your story and about you in design and Fred and Co. from your perspective.
Cool. So my name is Molly. I am a creative director focusing in brand and graphic design, and I have been running my own studio ever since I graduated from design school. So we are about at the 8-year mark now, so that's very exciting. And I love working with a lot of CPG brands, food and packaging, as well as lifestyle brands. So how I got into this was when I was in undergrad. I was freelancing a ton, and my original plan was to kind of join some students who were like 2 years older than me, was to join their design studio when I graduated, but they quickly got acquired, and they were like, we have a couple projects that we can't bring with us, so would you like to take them on? And at that point, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So I was very brave back then, and I'm really glad I was. So yeah, I found that working with clients and kind of making their vision come to life has been very rewarding and very exciting.
At what point do you feel like, or maybe you're still, but what point do you feel like you found like your footing? Do you found like your niche, and like and at what point do you feel like you started feeling like I got the hang of this, or this part's for me, and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that maybe about 5 years ago, I feel like I really found my footing. So for like the first couple of years, I was definitely having some, I guess, FOMO from my peers who I had gone to school with because they were in more traditional design jobs. So I feel like I was doing something really different from them. And at that time, it kind of felt like maybe I was doing something wrong by doing this. And I felt like I wasn't taking advantage of the resources that they had. But I think, again, like the 5-year mark, I really was seeing all the impact that I was making on these client businesses, especially in like the early startups, like early food businesses or a small business in town. When they were working with me, it was just crazy to see how much they up leveled in everything from like either launching or just seeing them be able to grow their team design wise after working with me was very cool. Yeah, so I think I've always really liked working with illustrators and other creatives. So I think once I had a bunch of illustrators kind of in my DMs from like Pinterest or Instagram, kind of being excited and wanting to work with me and my team, that is when I was kind of like, okay, I think I made it, because I'm like, these people are so cool. And if they think my stuff is cool, we might have something going on here.
I know that there's probably industry software and stuff like that, but are there mediums or tools that you like to use? Is there like a vibe that you feel like you kind of go for in your work?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say I'm totally a computer girl, and I pretty much live in Figma. Um, I think in the last like 2 years, especially as their tools have kind of changed and they've added a bunch of the more illustration focused tools, that has been very cool. But then outside of the computer, I do, as a hobby, I love to do sign painting. So I feel like that has a lot of influence on my typography choices.
Yeah.
And definitely looking at and referencing really old signs that look like something that is really trendy today, I'm like, oh, they already did that 50 years ago, and we're just redoing it. So yeah, so I'd say Figma, and then I love a little sign painter brush.
Are there like foundries or creatives, past or present, that you kind of have looked at as you're, I don't know, getting your own taste and stuff like that? Or maybe you
Yeah.
throw out the rules of the past. How do you, yeah, what's inspiring
Yeah,
you?
so for sure. So I think like in design school, all my professors were very much like the Swiss, super like white space is everything, let the type breathe and all that. And I think I definitely still do have those kind of rules of the road. But I think that really looking at editorial illustrators and how like editorial designers work with layout has been really influential to me of kind of like
Mm.
being more playful with typography and kind of like breaking the grid, or like one of my professors always said like never center type, but now I'm like, ooh, feeling bad doing that. But I think someone who I've been looking to recently for inspiration, their name is Mitch Wisen, and they are kind of one of the jack of all trades designers that I love. So they do design, but they also do lettering and they also do illustration. And it's
Wow.
all very like focused on like a similar vintage vibe and looking at like past heritage design and playing with it. So I think that seeing what they've been able to do has been very cool.
Do you think like a path in design is like um, aided by education? Do you feel like this is, how much of this is intuitive or talent, and how much of this is, you know, you need to feed that?
Yeah. So I honestly think it could go either way. So me
Mm,
personally, I'm a big school person.
cool.
I just always loved that environment. But I work and have like looked up to many designers who are self-taught, and I think that it's definitely not a necessity to go to school. And I think I was lucky with my school that I went to, Northeastern in Boston. It was very much centered about around like entrepreneurial views and stuff. And my favorite professor and like most dear mentor, she has her own design studio. So I think like her mentorship, both in class and like the time she spent with me outside of class, um, kind of helping guide and shape where I thought I was going. I thought that was really valuable. But I'm like, I know that her name is Margarita, and I know that like so many other people have their like professor or their like person that they look up to, and they don't necessarily need to find them at school. But yeah, and I've taught at the like a technical college around me, and like again, a lot of the students who were there who were like the most excited about stuff, they had been like doing design since they were like a kid in Canva or whatever. So I think like it's really just how you like to learn and like what opportunities you have. Um, but yeah, I think you can totally be a graphic designer or creative of any kind without like formally going to school. But I am on the other end of that where I really like that structure, and that has really kind of helped ground me in my design.
Are you the and co of Fred&Co? How does that come together?
Yes, yeah, that's a really good question. So Fred was my first dog that I had as an adult, and so I am the and co.
Yes.
When I first started, I knew that I wanted to have a bigger team that was just outside of myself. So I kind of liked the and co being could be me, could be other people. And everyone always asks, who's Fred? And they think there's a man. And then I get on the phone and they're like, oh, okay. So I always like that too.
Have to educate them quickly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Move on and kind of focus in on mascots and character brands. I kind of wanted to chat a little bit about Snoozy, which is actually in the
Mhm.
background right there. I know
Yeah.
that there's other other brands that you've worked on that have characters in them, but
Mhm.
would just love to hear about like uh, kind of like your initial experience of working with Snoozy and how that came about. And
So Snoozy came to me as a total cold outreach, and I would
mm,
say that is not the norm
mm,
for clients that I work with. So they had seen, I'm pretty sure they found me through Google, and which is crazy. But what they were looking for initially was a brand refresh. And then once we started getting into the project, it kind of turned into like a full rebrand and reimagination. So that was something very exciting to do with them.
mm,
So something about, so Snoozy is a company that makes gummies. We coined it for every good mood. So they offer both THC and non-THC infused gummies. And so they already had like a nice little cult following for their THC line, but they knew they wanted to kind of break out of just the hemp world.
yeah,
And what they really wanted to do was to make the THC buying experience a lot more approachable and to kind of welcome in more people to that space.
mm,
So they had what they started with was kind of like they had the current bag that they have that's like the bigger bag. It has the same layout of the current reimagined packaging.
oh, okay.
And so there's like a big Snoozy logo going up the side. And they said that that was something that their customers were like super attached to and kind of always knew how to like look for that on the
Um,
shelf.
uh,
Um, so they were really adamant. Like we did a bunch of different iterations redesigning the bag, and they're like, I don't know. I think we've got to stick with it. So we would
okay. Tried and true. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So as they've expanded, we got to redesign the bag for the non-infused.
Uh,
And that is really where you can see the character take full center stage, which is very exciting.
okay.
But yeah, so going through that process where the mascots came in, I was really trying to think through ways to show on the bag super quickly the flavor as well as the feeling that you would get from the gummies.
Mm,
Because one of their things was like, our gummies actually taste good. So really emphasizing that.
mm,
And so I was like, okay, well, then let's personify these flavors. And then I reached out to an illustrator. I believe I met him on Instagram. His name is Daniele Morganti, and
mm,
he is based in Italy, which I had no idea when I reached out to him. So that was very cool.
cool.
But yeah, so I kind of gave him the brief and I art directed him, and he created these amazing characters that can kind of live in their own world. And it's very exciting to see because they were kind of a secondary element with the
Right.
THC brand because there's a bunch of laws around design in the THC world of like you
Oh.
can't like for the mascots they didn't want them to feel like they were being marketed to kids.
Uh,
So that was really like living on like merch and
yeah.
smaller one-off things that you could get in person, but now they're really taking on a full life and really being center stage for the non-infused line, which I'm very excited about. So they're like the main focus of that new packaging, and they are really going to like take over that part of the brand, which is exciting.
Did they have like color choices prior to this? Um, okay,
Yep. So
okay,
they had a bunch of purples because Snoozy
okay,
they were
okay, yeah,
starting with like the sleep line, but then we got to kind of like expand out from there and tweak
yeah.
the original ones.
Oh, so cool. Okay. Yeah, beautiful color palette. I like how it works with the mascots too. You said that you wanted these to like encapsulate like the flavors, each one. Um,
Mhm.
and kind of like make it fun, I think. Was that like Were there any other thoughts behind how to refresh this beyond having characters? I don't know. Any other preliminary like ideas that you had that you're like, nah, maybe, or did you come in and go, yeah, characters?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I did
Yeah.
come in and immediately say characters.
Oh, okay,
They
cool.
have an original illustration set, but they were made by different people, and they were excited about illustration. And then honestly, whenever I go into a project, I'm always trying to look to make another little guy. So
Yes.
I do be like the first thing my mind goes.
Cool.
Yeah, so I pitched them on that, and they were like, "Hell yes, let's go!" So that was very exciting.
How did you know Danielle was your illustrator for this? What was it about his style that drew you towards this?
Yeah, I thought I let's see. I was really like at the time we were doing this, that is right when Graza was really taking off and like
Mhm.
taking over the scene.
Mhm.
So I really loved their illustrations. Of
Mhm.
course, who doesn't?
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
yes. But I wanted something that felt like a little more squishy and just a little more like rounded and friendly to mirror the actual gummies.
Ah,
Um, so Danielle, he had been on my radar for a little bit because he has that really nice style in his character designs.
yeah.
Yeah, I was very excited to work with Danielle. His stuff is very cool. And he was like, it was very cool to see because he would send over sketches and they were just photos of his notebook and then he just like made them black and white. So it was very cool to kind of see the process of it feeling like a little more squishy, and then once they got approved, just seeing the nice rounded vectorized versions were always very
Yes.
exciting.
I don't know if this was ever part of like the iterations, but they all have like the squishy hands. Did they ever have like fingers or anything like that? Were there like how many iterations were there until you got to where you were at, you think?
Yeah, I would say those big ball hands were there the whole time. I really
Mm,
loved them.
mm, mm,
So I definitely trusted his vision with those.
mm, mm,
I would say the Snoozy client, they've been really awesome because they really trust the creatives that they're bringing in.
mm,
And I always love to kind of give for art direction, like a little bit of a more vague idea, and then
mm,
really let the illustrator take the wheel. So I'm pretty sure we only did one revision of the characters before we showed them to the client. And then the client's feedback was mainly on the actual actions that they were doing
mm.
as characters rather than like anything stylistic. So that's another thing that I really love about that client. They're like, you guys know what you're doing. Let's let you guys
Trustworthy.
cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, trusting you to do that. That's so refreshing. Are there other touch points beyond packaging and stuff? I figure like around social that they are using these, that they try to use these.
Yep. So social, they also use them in email. I know whenever they go to conferences, they always have merch that really show off the characters.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah.
cool merch.
And yeah, and then there's some of them are hidden throughout the website.
Cool. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. I see the pineapple here.
Mhm.
Fresh focus. Yeah, so cool.
So
Yeah,
cute.
there's like little additional graphics, like it has little stars, and like the lovebirds one has like little birds
Mhm.
and hearts. It looks like a little cupid and stuff like that. Fun
Yep.
to build out those other elements and kind of that universe there.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's nice because on the iconography, they kind of have like two sets of icons, and they do have one set that is very heavily influenced by the illustration style. So it's kind of just like grabbing that style and doing icons with it.
Yeah.
And then for their like more serious icons, so like when they're talking about like science or THC or any of the benefits, then that's when they'll bring in their more kind of like serious, kind of like things you would find on like the Noun Project. But we've, yeah.
Yeah. Is there something about like implementing characters or something that what do they allow you to do with a brand? I don't know, as opposed to like a brand that doesn't have characters, right? Like what
Yeah.
I don't know, what value does this have? What sort of things are you able to do here?
Yeah. I think that even if the character isn't a human, it humanizes the brand. So
Mm,
even though we have like these goofy little fruits with little expressions, like it is inherently human. And I think that, um, yeah, I personally just believe that that feels really memorable. And some of my favorite brands have that. And I think that one project that I worked on, it was like in the crypto space,
mm,
and they really, really wanted to differentiate themselves. And like um, a lot of their other competitors did have mascots, but like one of their biggest competitors, their logo was like a naked anime woman, and they were like, we want the exact opposite of that. So I was like,
okay.
you came to the right place.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so it was very cool because we were able to pitch them on like a storybook style character drawing style.
Yeah.
So I worked with Dana Kingery on
Oh, cool.
this, and their like main mascot is Bruce the Moose,
Okay.
and he's like the protector of their lair, which was very cool. So yeah, so I think it just brings like a fun and not so serious element to a brand that I think, I don't know, I like to work with brands that don't take themselves super seriously. Like
Mm,
they're excited about the products and things that they're doing, but I think having a mascot just makes everything feel fun and a little bit more light.
yeah.
And yeah,
Do
if
you
mascots have no fans, I am dead. So
do you like when you think about like these foundational pieces of a brand that you put together from zero, I guess, like you're designing a logo, you're finding type and stuff like that, and finding like the feel of this brand. Um, like, do you feel like characters fit into a foundational piece of that? Does that make sense?
yeah, that definitely makes sense. Um I definitely think it does, and I feel
Yeah.
like that is usually part of that first round of, like, mood boards that I'm doing is if characters are part of the world or if it's illustration
Uh,
that just has no characters in it, so I think that I'm definitely, like, a type first designer,
mm,
and I think especially with these new, like, techie modern brands that have a little bit more of, like, a soulless plain sans serif, which I love. If they're looking to do something different, that is when I will pull in the ideas for bringing in characters or an illustration style.
do you like batch your design process into guidelines like with Snoozy? Is that what you did? And are characters part of that?
Yes. So at the end of all my brand processes, they get a nice big old brand book.
Yeah.
And in the brand book, I usually credit the original illustrator and kind of like a link to their work and their email, so they can just stay with the same illustrator. But then also, like for any like people who have in-house designers and illustrators, then I will also add like how to break down the characters, making them know about like the stroke widths and the curves and all of that. So I do break that down. So I broke that down for Snoozy, and they use Danielle to do like all of the original illustrations, and now as I'm working with them on a retainer, I've brought in some more junior illustrators to kind of take up the baton.
Oh, cool. Okay. Um, and this is kind of going back. I'll sort of try to wrap up here, but did your did the type like influence this character decision then? Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Yeah.
Yep, that's a great question. So I think it all really started with the word mark Snoozy with like that cloudy, squishy feeling. And I
Yeah.
definitely wanted to make sure that the character mirrored that rather than kind of went totally against that. Just for more harmony and to just
Yeah.
really drive home the fact that like this is a gummy brand. We're going to be talking about squishy, delicious
Yeah.
stuff. So definitely was an influence there.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they work so well together. So, but interesting to see which one comes first, I suppose, and how
Yeah,
that's informed. Um,
for sure.
yeah. I mean, I think there's so much to say about this. I think that like we could dig into so many other of your projects too. I love like the photo, like the photography that was done for this too. Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
cool. Shout out to Breakfast for Dinner, the photo
Breakfast for dinner.
studio.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So cool. Well done. Yeah. I don't know. Anything else you like want to add to this?
I think that this was like one of like a dream project that I've always wanted to do of like not only doing the brand but also the packaging, also the website, also being involved in the photo shoot. I think it was just a very cool opportunity to build out the whole world. And again, the client really, really trusted the vision. And yeah, it's like definitely one of my like peak projects that I feel like is a feather in my cap that was really, really cool to work on. And it's still really awesome to, I now work with them on a monthly retainer. So kind
All
of
right.
helping them grow right now we're like buffing out the brand book even more.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, they're just such a good team to work with.
I mean, this won a Dieline Award, I believe, and so like it's not just my opinion, but the opinion of others that you're
Yeah.
making cool stuff, and so
Thank you.
I
Thank
think
you.
like beyond the like your ability and like your talents here, I think also people want to keep working with you, and so you just in our conversations are just like a delightful person, and like that's such a
Thank you.
nice thing to have when you're creating, and so
Thank you.
so yeah, I hope
Amazing.
that keeps happening, and I'll keep looking
Yeah.
forward to great stuff, and so
Yes.
thank you for your time. So cool chatting with you. Yeah, so thank you for sharing Snoozy with us, and I'll keep looking forward to more cool characters. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you.